Let me pause this. D-Roy Cruz here. I got to get some videos put on these channels. I haven't been caring. Really haven't. Haven't been caring about it. Guess I should get a guitar out because now this here is my Squier. I had to have one, and I wasn't going to buy one brand new because I'm already playing guitars that are above the $100 and some range. But I had to have a Squier because I picked one up in the guitar store because, you know, you go in the guitar stores and there's certain guitars there that you can just pick up and play. They got the real expensive ones hanging on the wall where a 5'3.5" guy like me can't reach them. So there was always a Squier there just sitting down at my foot, you know, for me to trip on and fall on my face in the guitar store. So I had a habit of picking them up, and I've had a number of Squiers in my arm. So I did this, I talked about this on another video where my Schecter behind me, I don't know if you can see it, you can see the headstock. I don't know why you can't see the white part of it, but anyway, that's my baby. Everybody has a baby. That's my baby. That's my white mama. I call that my white mama. Anyway, that's because I call her my white mama because she's a lot thicker and a little wee bit heavier than most of the other guitars I've played. I've played Les Paul. Never had one stay at my house. But I played a Les Paul before, scratched my hand on it the first time I picked one up because of the feel on it. I didn't really test it for sound, I'll be honest. My Schecter, which is sitting behind me, sounds like an SG. And it feels like an SG. I love the feel of it. And I'll tell you the truth, the more I play that Schecter, and I compare it with this Squier. Now, this is Fender, that Schecter. Fender been around a long time. This is a $100 and some to a little bit over $200 guitar, brand new. That there is a $500 and some guitar. A little bit over $500 when I bought it. And I bought it probably about 6 months. No, actually, I bought it a year after it came out. So the price, it went down $500 and some, and I got it right before it went off of the Schecter market, before it went out of print. I grabbed it. But I love that guitar. I was just comparing these two guitars today. I said, you know what? I love Strats. Want to play one. So I got out my Squier. And I noticed that it's not just the sound, because I love the sound of the Strat, but I also love the sound of that Schecter, which is competitive to a Les Paul. The bridge, the pickups, the selector switch, the inlays, the tone and volume configuration. Very similar to a Les Paul. It's from that family. It's part of that 2-humbucker headstock package coming from the Les Paul family. All guitars, let's get that straight. All guitars, you know, most guitars, I'll say, most guitars come from that place. They either come from the Strat arena or from the Les Paul arena. All guitars are coming from those two, all electric guitars anyway, are coming from those two areas, okay? Now the main three guitars are the Strat, the Les Paul, the jazz guitars, and the semi-hollow body guitars. Those are the four main guitars that are extremely a different feel from each other, different in sound, and so forth like that. Now this video that I just paused, this guy is demonstrating the Jazzmaster, the Fender Jazzmaster, and the Fender Jaguar. And I'm looking at these guitars and I can tell and hear that they are different than a lot of Stratocasters. They are somewhere in between a Strat and a Les Paul. But again, that goes back to what I just said. All guitars come between those two classifications. What I want to say to you today is don't believe the hype. I mean, unless you're a rich man and all you got to do with your money is buy guitars, don't believe the hype. All guitars fall between a Strat and a Les Paul. And I had saved up my money, believe it or not, because I was going through a divorce at the time, and I had no money. I had to get on my feet. I had just gotten divorced, and I had to really, work things up from the bottom to get to that point to where I could buy that guitar, even though it was only, a little bit over $500. Now, to some of y'all watching, that's pocket money. But for me at the time, it wasn't. And trust me, I've had my eyes on PRSs, and I still do. I have my eyes on, the Kiesel Carbon guitars. I mean, matter of fact, back in the day when I first started playing, I had my eyes on Carbon. There's a lot of guitars out there, but I really believe that without playing around with every guitar I can get my hands on, I really believe without really trying every single guitar out, which I think is totally unnecessary, I really believe with all my heart that once you've played a few guitars, you've played them all. And I mean, when John Mayer was coming out as a guitar player, when Jimi Hendrix was coming out as a guitar player, when Stevie Ray Vaughan was coming out as a guitar player, when Eric Clapton was coming out as a guitar player, when Steve Vai, and I heard Steve Vai say it because I watched some of his material here on YouTube. When these guys came out as guitar players, they didn't have no guitar collection. And if you look at the Crossroads, done by Eric Clapton, you'll see that Eric Clapton plays the same guitar. The only difference is the color. He'll play different guitars for different stage performances and settings. But the thing is, they're all Strats. And I really believe that when he's at home and he's practicing, he only plays one Strat. The rest are just show business. Let me say that again. I believe that when he's at home practicing and he's writing music, he plays one Strat for everything that he wants to play. Now, if he wants to tamper with the sound, he wants to make his backing track sound not like him, or something like that. The only way that you can not sound like you is to either play a totally different instrument or have somebody else play that part. That's the only way that you can sound totally different than yourself. Having 100 guitars is not going to make you sound like something different each time. And these promoters to get on YouTube, and these guys, I mean, they're making money to do YouTube videos, and they got this whole collection of guitars, and a lot of them, when they plug it in, they play the same thing all the time. All they know how to do is shred. They don't know how to play a good gospel tune. They don't know how to play a good old Hawaiian tune or a good old jazz tune that's real popular that goes back in time. You know what I'm saying? All they know how to do is play stuff that they heard. They know how to play well enough to do a guitar review. I'm not impressed. This guy here that I was just listening to, and I paused him to do this video. He was plucking nice, but I could tell that's all he knows how to play. Okay? Some of these guys are not even really guitar players. They're just doing guitars because they like guitars, and they're just making money off of it to do YouTube videos and make money off of YouTube. Okay? Somebody like Eric Clapton, who is now all on his own and has been in a number of bands, and now he's a retired player. Hopefully he's still living. I think he is, because he's got a Crossroads festival coming up. So, sure he's living. I haven't been keeping up with him since the last Crossroads festival, but I know he's getting up there in age, and we just lost B.B. King. And who was the other one that we just lost? It was a big blues man. But anyway, when you get older, like you get my age and up, I'm in my 50s, you don't really care about 100 million guitars. You don't really feel like having guitar garages full of guitars. And even if I had the money, I would probably spend that money on renting guitars and hearing what they sound like and seeing if I want to buy them. See, that's smart. Instead of buying all these guitars, like one guy who owns that exact model Schecter that I own, and me and him was talking on YouTube, and he told me, he says, I had to get rid of my Schecter and add that to the money that I was saving up to get a SG. So, instead of him just getting a simple Epiphone SG, he decided to get one that was very pricey, obviously. It had to be Gibson, and it had to be like, real expensive. Bite the dust, man. Come on. Life is not supposed to be that difficult. It's music, man. It's music. Another thing I want to mention is I remember back in the day, when I first started playing, I had my cruise guitar, my very first cruise guitar. It was so cheap that as soon as the fretboard started absorbing the sweat and perspiration off my hands, it went right through the wood, and the wood had holes in it about an inch deep. And so when I played it, my fingers went right into the wood, up here in the first 5 frets, okay, right up here. And it was a Strat. My very first guitar was a Strat, very much like this. But it was, it didn't have a pickguard. It was all black. It had a shiny, glossy finish on it. You could see yourself. I used to look at my guitar and clean my teeth. I used to just pick up my guitar and while I was playing, say, ew. I'd be playing, and then I'd see myself, and that's how beautiful that guitar was. I mean, it was a nice guitar. You know how much that guitar cost me? That guitar cost me $112. And it was the cheapest guitar in this guy's store. He couldn't really sell the big names because he sold most of his stuff used, but he sold those new, those cruise guitars, and he had a few of them. And I bought the black one because my ex at the time, she loved that black one. She thought the black one was hot. And the other colors were kind of girly colors anyway, so I got the black one. I loved the shine on it. You know what I mean? It was like a mirror. It was a beautiful guitar. But it was cheap as you can get as far as the body was concerned. But it only had one pickup on it, and the pickup was the humbucker. And it sounded so clean and smooth and buttery. Let me say that again. It sounded so clean and smooth and buttery, that guitar. Oh my goodness. To this day. Now you talk about, sound tests on all these different guitars. Let me tell you a little secret. The more simplerly made, or let me say it like this, the more simpler a guitar is made, without trying to put a bunch of stuff in it to get your money, the cleaner and more direct of a sound that guitar has. It really does. And I know one thing, that's one of the things why I still have a Strat laying around. I have my good Strat in the closet there. I have a quart in the closet, and it's one of them new improved Strats that has two humbuckers in one single coil, I think, or it has a single coil and a humbucker. I forget which one it is. But that guitar has a way better sound than this one. Pretty much, it's slightly different a sound than that one. It may sound a little wee bit more vintage than that Schecter. As far as, especially in the single coil, the warmth of this single coil. That chord is my baby. It's a smaller guitar, a smaller scale. I love the sound of that thing, and I love the articulation. So it's not like, folks, that I don't listen to what I'm hearing when I play these electric instruments. It's not that I don't pay attention to sound and I don't care about the sound. What it is though, when you're performing in front of people, when you look at guitar reviews, I guarantee you, when you go to the store, let's say like this guy here, he was just doing a sound test between a Jaguar and a Jazzmaster. I guarantee you that's not good enough for you. When you go to get yourself a Jaguar or a Jazzmaster, it ain't gonna mean diddly squat right here. It's gonna mean something when you sit down and you play a Jazzmaster and a Jaguar back to back. That's what makes the difference, not this video. And I'm telling you, it's gonna sound totally different because you're gonna be playing it in your hand with your fingers. You're gonna get the feel of it. You're gonna be plugging it into the amps that are at that music store. Okay? You're going to find out that this was a waste of your time. The only thing he did here was give you the idea to put the Jazzmaster and the Jaguar back to back. That's all he did. Which should come common sense to you if you ain't know anything about the two instruments. But that's all he did. You still have yet to put the two back to back. He can't do it for you. Okay, you can't trust the video to teach you. The other thing is, on reviews anyway, and the other thing is, your soundboard, let me ask you something. If the sound of any guitar, why would you need a whole effects rig? Okay, a whole effects rig. on a let's say $10,000 Les Paul, if it's worth $10,000? Why do you need an effects rig? I know I'm preaching to the idiots. Okay, I know I'm preaching to the mentally ill. But what I'm saying is real, man. Like, we believe in some crazy hype. Like, you're spending $10,000 on a Les Paul. You're going to use the same effects rig that you would use on this Squire, which costs $100 and some. And the same effects that you would use on the Les Paul, you're going to use on the Squire, or vice versa. Think about that. Just let that sink in for a minute. We spend all this money. See, me, I know that there's a difference between a $500 and some guitar and $100 and some guitar. But nowadays, like the Harley Benton guitars, you can get a guitar for $300 that'll make some of these $1,000, $2,000, $4,000 guitars look like trash. Okay, you really can. And the guitars get heavier as you go up in price, and the pickups are louder. You know, I was just in the music store, what was it, last week? The week before last. Because I've had my eyes on the Epiphone Blues Hawk. Okay? Well, there was one in the store that was a Nighthawk. And they were selling it used, and it was by Gibson. And I picked that guitar up. I was going to walk out of the door, and I says, hold up, that guitar looks familiar. And I asked the guy, I says, what's that, is that a Blues Hawk? He said, no, that's the Nighthawk. I said, yeah, that's right, because the Blues Hawk has the F-holes. I says, would you mind if I just get a feel of that guitar? I just want to check it out because I've had my eyes on the Blues Hawk. He said, sure. Okay, so I went over and I picked it up. As soon as I picked it up, I had a problem with it. Why is it so heavy? Okay, and he wants $900 and some for this guitar, and it's used. And I looked at it, and it got scratches on it. Like, it had like a little scratch going down across, like right here. It had a scratch going right across like this. Okay? And as soon as I began to play it, I noticed that it was very loud, and like, you know, when you play, the strings all are lined up in a way that, in your intonation in that, the strings are lined up in a way where they harmonize with each other. Okay, that is the sound of a good guitar. When I got to Squire, I got it off of a guy as is, and he told me, he says, if you need it, you know, tuned up or anything, you can bring it back. I'll have the guitar guy do it for you. I says, well, it sounds all right. Okay, now my Schecter, I think since I had it, I've had it intonated once. The first time I intonated it myself, but I had it intonated once by a guitar shop because I wanted to see if it would make a difference between me intonating it and him intonating it, and it did slightly. He did a slightly better job than I did, but I was, you know, following instructions from friends of mine and Guitar Magazine and so forth. So I intonated it myself, and I did a pretty good job, but he did it slightly better. I'll give him, it was worth the money. So, and now I haven't had to intonate it since I've had it. I've traveled with it about 2 or 3 times. I've moved 2 or 3 times, and I haven't had to intonate it again. This here, I just moved here to this place, and I haven't had to intonate this either. So that's a good sign of a cheap guitar being useful for what you need it for. But when I was playing this Nighthawk at Guitar Center, it was really, really out of line as far as, you know, and I checked the tuning, and the tuning was good enough, but to me it had an awful sound for something that they felt that was so classic that even used they were going to charge you $999 for it. And that's just the price without tax. And I'm thinking, you know, like, it's not going to stay this price. You just trying to get money for it. But once you know, no one falls for that trick, you're going to take it down to 500 and then more, and then you want to try to sell it to somebody, you know, at another used store like Hollywood or something like that, Johnny B. Good or something, and get a decent price for it for what you can get out of it that the customer ain't going to give you. And that's how they do it. But, you know, that changed my mind about getting the Blues Hawk, because the Blues Hawk and the Nighthawk are the same exact guitar, except for the F-holes. Now, I'm sure the Blues Hawk sounds a little bit more warmer, and I'm sure that because the Blues Hawk, the one by Epiphone, is cheaper, it's probably not as heavy. But the feel on that guitar, like when you sit it on your lap, you almost can't sit it on your lap. And if you look at the videos, the horn is in your leg when you know, it's in your leg. It's not even crossing your leg. You know, these are things that never get talked about when they do these guitar reviews. You got to really, if you're going to look at these videos, you got to really pay attention. And I do that now. Like when people do guitar reviews, I watch how the guitar sits on their lap and how far, you know, this part is from under their arm. Now, if it's way down here, okay, that means that it's going to be like you having a ukulele on your lap or something. You know what I'm saying? I got a ukulele. You know, I play my ukulele this way. I don't play it on my lap, you know. And I guess that's the way a lot of people play these small scale guitars, but, you know, they don't talk about that. You got to talk about that, and they don't talk about that. They don't talk about, like, you know, before they talk about something that you can't go to the store and get, you got to get it online, like these Harley Benton guitars, or Harley Benton guitars, I'm sorry. They don't tell you that, oh, it's not going to cross your leg. It's gonna hurt you right here in your thigh because that's where it sits, or something like that. They don't tell you this stuff. And but what I want to say is, don't believe the hype. Okay? And last but not least, your pedal board, as I was saying. Your pedal board is your best thing. Your pedal board. This here one is the Zoom G21, and I like Zoom. My very first guitar effects processor was Zoom, and I like the sound of it. It has a more sweeter sound, and these boxes are like the guitars themselves. They all have their own, like, just like you can have effects pedals. Like you can have Boss, you can have DOD, You can have Zoom. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with the effects processors. They all have their own sound. And the Boss one that I had an ME10 that died on me. I mean, it had a massive stroke. I'm telling you, that thing had a massive stroke. I plugged it in one day, was getting ready to play my favorite patches, and it was just, it was done. It was just puking up. It was just spitting up. It was, and every time I plug it in, it was, that might be the downfall of the difference between effects processors and individual pedals, because once an effects processor breaks down on you, that's all your pedals. That's all your effects that break down on you. Now you got to buy a whole new rig. Whereas the pedals themselves, it's very seldom that they break down on you. They just get outdated and they get, and then you got to keeping up with the Joneses, But I'll always love effects processors. I'll take my chances, okay, because I like to have, the way I like to use my effects, I like to use them. If I want to jump from a distorted, compressed situation to a distorted chorus situation, I only want to hit that pedal once or twice. If I want to jump from an acoustic guitar simulator to a distorted sound, to a clean reverb sound or whatever, I want to hit that pedal one time. I don't want to be going bing, 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 butter, bing, 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 bong. Okay, and people don't talk about that. Okay, but I've been to enough concerts where I've watched people make mistakes and end up playing the sound that they didn't want to play because they had to remember what the pedal configurations were. Whereas you don't have to do that on these. You record them in there and then you just remember what chain you got them in. You can set them up so that you have a chain for each song. Okay, you put this in front of this and put this in front of that, and number 3, number 4, number 5, however you want to set it. And in the song, you just hit it again, and boom, you go to your lead, hit it again, you go to your acoustic guitar, hit it again. You know what I mean? You go to some clean reverb, hit it again, you go back to the distortion. You know what I'm saying? Not all them different pedals. You just hit it, boom. And that's what I like. I'm getting old. I like things simple. Now I got a couple pedals. I got a monkey pedal. I forget what you call that, by DOD. And I got a tube screamer by, who's the tube screamer by? Is it by Zoom? I think it's by DOD too. And that's one of my favorites. And I don't use them that much because I found out that the same effect sounds better mixed in my board than it does individual. It sounds better in my board than it does, Now, if I wanted to be precision about it, I could take that tube screamer with me and put it on the lowest channel and just use it, which I've done. I've taken it to church with me and used it for slight distortion to play leads and stuff, and that was kind of fun. But your pedal board is your biggest and best pickup. Nobody plays guitar without their board. I mean, if you do, you might just be practicing at home and you might have a good, expensive guitar that you love practicing on. That's fine. But nobody goes to a concert and leaves their board at home. Even to do one song, if you're going to play in front of people, you got something mixed in with your regular amp sound. You got some compression in there. You got some distortion in there. You got your chorus, your flanger. You got something going on there. Okay? So, you know what I'm saying? And this is the thing. When you step down on the pedal, whether it's an individual pedal or this processor right here, that changes all your pickups. That changes everything that you went through so much and making a big deal about your guitar sounding like. And now these new pedals like this one, you have a acoustic guitar simulator. You got different amp models and algorithms and all this stuff. Okay, to do with your sound. Okay, and I've seen people pick up my guitar and play something, and then they said, you got a little bit of distortion, and then they would hit the distortion and they would set my pickups according to the distortion that they were playing. Okay, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we're in too much of the hype that comes on YouTube. People getting on screen and they hold up two guitars and your head just explodes like, God, those are gorgeous guitars. And they do a sound sample. They do some fancy licks and they go to shred and you know what I mean? And you're like, oh my God, that's so hot. Oh, even me, man, I'm looking at some of them guitars. I'm like, that's going to be my next guitar. And then I got to catch myself. Well, wait a minute. What about that Jazzmaster that I said I wanted? Wait a minute. What about that Harley Benton that I said I wanted to check out? Okay. I can't get them all. Right? And I mean, you can tell yourself that it's different. It's just like driving cars. I mean, you have a sports car, you have a sedan, and you have an SUV, and you have a truck. Those are the four different fields of cars. Sports cars drive like sports cars. Sedans drive like sedans. SUVs drive like SUVs. And trucks drive like trucks. Okay? Stop telling yourself you need 100 cars in order to, you know what I mean? And having all these guitars is no different. I can understand if you are a writer and you are making albums or playing for other people and things of that nature. You might have a Jazzmaster. You might have a regular Strat. You might have a jazz guitar and a semi-hollow body and a Les Paul. I can understand that. But don't believe this hype and don't fall for it and don't let it dig in your pocket. YouTube is making money to get your money. YouTube is making money to get your money. And most of them are honest about it. When you really get down to it, depending on what video you're watching, they're honest about it. They want you to look at these guitars and buy them. And whenever you buy that guitar, you're doing Fender a favor. They just did a favor for Fender. They just did a favor for Gibson, or they just did a favor for Harley Benton, or you know what I'm saying, PRS or whatever. And that's what they're doing. But see, you believe in all the hype when this is a musical instrument. These are not clothes. People buy guitars like they buy clothes. Okay? These are meant to be played. And I'm telling young people that are playing the guitar, don't be a sucker for the hype. Find yourself a good guitar, okay? Go to the music store and try out a humbucker guitar, a simple one like a Squier. That's a single coil. A single coil guitar. Try out a single coil guitar. Okay, take your music teacher or a good family member that plays the guitar that's got some experience with you. Try out the single coils, okay, and then try out the humbuckers and see what you like. Okay, see what feels best to you. Okay, and if you don't have any guitar experience, anyone will do, because either way you do it, you gotta turn off all that distortion. You gotta take it off the lead channel on your guitar, and put it on a clean channel in order to practice. So you don't need all these effects. You don't need all these guitars. You just need one guitar that you love strapping to yourself or sitting on your lap, and you love playing that thing, and you feel like you can sit all day and play that guitar. And that's what you need. You don't need all the hype. You don't need, oh, you know what I'm saying, by next month I'm going to have a Jazzmaster, and then the month after that I'm going to have a PRS, and then the month after that I'm going to have one of them Yamaha guitars, and then the month after that I'm going to have a jazz guitar, and then a month after, you know what I'm saying? You don't need, when I first started playing, I was thinking like that, like, I don't know how this is going to work from a marriage, but I'm gonna have me a guitar collection, so we're going to need a bigger house. And I'm glad it never happened. I'm glad as many things as I went through, it caused us to get a divorce. I'm glad that wasn't one of them. And now I'm all alone and by myself. And, you know, the more I play that Schecter and enjoy what I'm playing, the more I feel like, who you trying to fool, you two? Who you trying to fool? Who do you think you lying to? Why are you showing me a whole new set of guitars when you just showed me a set yesterday? And these guitars are the same type of guitars. They're all single coils. Or they're all humbuckers. What's the difference? Is there really that big a difference that you need to just keep throwing these guitars at us? Okay? And people that have money, a lot of you kids that got money, yeah, you're going to buy those guitars. Okay? Because you haven't really learned your rhythm. You haven't really mastered your weapon yet. You haven't really mastered your axe, as they call it, yet. So you're going to buy those guitars. You're going to fall for it. Okay? But what I'm saying to you is don't believe the hype. Okay? Play your music. Play your music. And learn. And get your chops together. And write your songs. And do your concerts, man. Don't waste your time on the hype. Don't waste your money. Save your money for your album. Save your money for your studio and the things that really cost money later that you're going to need as you progress. God bless you. I'm D-Roy Cruz. Thank you for watching. Just want to help you relax because YouTube is mind-boggling when they're throwing all these guitars at you and you're hearing all this shred noise all day long. And what did you get out of that? Nothing. It just attacked your pocketbook, and that's about it. So, God bless you. Have a great night. I had to do a video because I haven't done one in a while, so there it is for you. Talk to you later with more. Thanks a lot for watching.